Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. How are we, guys? Team update time. I feel like it's a good time to do that. Practice games aren't too far away. 22 days till the first bounce. It's bloody exciting. I don't feel like I've been this pumped for a footy season in a while. I don't know what it is, but yeah, genuinely can't wait. So it's getting close. Very excited. We will be going live Wednesday. We'll do every Wednesday for the bloody rest of the year, mate. Unless I've got something on, unless Shorty's got a hot date, we will be on a Wednesday. So good chance we'll be on a Wednesday at this rate. But anyway, anyone know anyone? Look, in all seriousness, league codes will start to be revealed. I'll do some on my live sessions, both YouTube and TikTok. I'll just drop a code, and then I'll also do what I always do and give you a bit of notice, schedule a video when we'll drop a few codes and give everyone like a fair chance to get a crack into one of the leagues. So, yeah, let's get into it. Because I've stuffed around enough tonight. I've been watching maths. What am I doing? I'm telling you, that show's addictive, bro. I mean, it is trash TV at its finest. But here I am sitting on the couch watching maths, just wondering what Ryan's going to say to his missus. Crazy. Anyway, let's start with the defenders. And I'm going to say straight up, I don't like my backline. I'm also going to say you may be ending this video being like, Shorty, you've got way too many mid-prices. You've lost the plot, mate. But bear with me. You know my philosophy this year. I haven't come close to the 50k in years. Not even close. So let's do something a little bit different. Let's do a little bit unique. Let's take some risk. That's my approach. The back line, I've had Josh Sin at times in D4. It's this D4, 5 and 6 that worries me, that it's a bit exposed for the rookies. And I'm not even sure if Al Hooley's in the best 22. Buslinger and Leak, I feel like, are handy interceptors. I don't really know enough about Allen, but he seems popular, seems to be training well. Seems like there'll be opportunity at West Coast, but we'll have to wait and see. Sheasel, Holmes, and Mills have been locked into my side for most of the year, really. There's been a couple of chopping and changes, but certainly the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's been pretty stable. I'd love to get Dan Houston in there. That's probably my one regret. I had Coleman, obviously, and then we heard him ruled out, so I had Josh Sin. I've had a few different bits and pieces, but unless Sin can really lock down that role, I mean, read an article that he's taking the Houston role. Next thing I know, he's not even doing the match sim, so he's on light duties, so I don't know. But yeah, really confident on Sheasel, really confident on Holmes. I know a few people in the comments have been like, oh, Sheasel's playing in the forwards and stuff. He will spend some time forward, but every good player has a secondary position. He will still be, along with Davies Uniacke, North Melbourne's highest centre bouncer tender, so don't worry about that. Mills picks himself if he can stay fit. So yeah, what do you think of the back line? Give me your thoughts. I don't like exposing too many rookies in one line, and I feel like we've got so many mid-prices across the board. As you'll see, I've tried to fit them all bloody in, but something's got to give. So this side's definitely low on your out-and-out premiums. But like I said, I want to do something a bit different. I feel like some years we reach a bit far for mid-prices. Like, oh, he might break out. Yeah, we almost convince ourselves. But I really took a step back, and all these mid-prices I genuinely believe in. I know we'll probably rule a couple out through practice games, but I feel like at this rate, they all deserve to be picked. So let's take a look at the midfield. So this is our midfield here. And as you can see, there's no Bontempelli, there's no Butters, no Sarong, anything like that. LDU and Green are quite unique. I think last time I checked, they're in about 9 and 13% of sides. And I like that. They're two of my favourites. And yeah, there's a risk. But LDU, I just feel like he's got that game-breaking ability. And we've seen it in probably snippets of seasons. We've seen him average 120 plus for the last 8 weeks, or the first half of the season, or the second half of the season. For whatever reason, it hasn't fully clicked, but I feel like it's going to click this year. I think North Melbourne are on the up. I think that it's just primed. I just feel like it's career best year coming. Top 5 or 6 Brownlow sort of stuff. Probably not top 5 or 6. I want to take that back immediately because North won't win a lot of games. But you get what I'm trying to say. He's going to dominate. And I can't see me changing. I really do feel like not too many players that are priced around Bontempelli maintain that. I feel like Gary Ablett Jr. was a guy that you could just never get a hold of if you didn't start him. I don't think Bont is invincible like that. So I'm happy to wear it and pick him off elsewhere. But, I might have egg on my face. I might end up not being able to get him, or it doesn't align, or I lose so many points by not having Bont. So be it. I think the Tom Green discussion is probably one that divides more. And I'm right there with you. I totally acknowledge that he handballs a lot. He's not the best user of the footy. Maybe he's just that guy, that gun player, but doesn't quite fit the SuperCoach scoring system. But I do not want to miss and not be on board the Tom Green train when it heads to 120. And I'm not saying he's going 120 this year, but if I wanted to make a big call, maybe I would. I genuinely feel like he's 115 plus this year. I just feel like he's too damn good, and he's still quite young. The way he wins contest, the way he just is so good around the clearance. He can develop these other areas of his game, like we saw Nat Fyfe do. Like, he was once upon a time spoken about as a guy who butchers the footy, wins it great, but he just bangs it on the boot. And, Clayton Oliver, that's who I sort of compare Green to. And we've seen Oliver with a similar set of numbers, average in the 120s. I think Green, we look at last year as a poor season. I feel like if you said, how was Green last year? Disappointing, frustrating. You average 106. If you take out his 5, where he was injured in the first 10 minutes, average 110 plus. If that's a bad year, shit, I hate to see when he goes nuts. And I just feel like he's destined to be discussed as one of the best players in the comp in one of the next few years. And I just don't want to miss. I do not want to miss when he does become that. I think Will Day is almost the opposite to Green in many ways. If we feel like Green has to win 35 and 20 contested average well, Day's almost the opposite. His impact, the way he plays the game, it just suits SuperCoach. He is just one of those SuperCoach guys. Now, before a couple of tagging games and some sub-affected games and injury towards the end of last year, he was averaging 104. But because of that shocking end of the year, he does drop down to a 91 average. And let's acknowledge that was off an interrupted pre-season. He's now got a good pre-season under his belt. Fingers crossed nothing changes there. I cannot see a world where he doesn't average 105 plus. And if you said, Shorty, tell me what you think he'd average, I'd be saying 110 or 111. That's where I think he could be. Maybe worst case 108. This guy's a jet. He's all class. And I feel like if that body can just hold up, it's going to be a beautiful ride. And I'm with him. So Oliver, rightfully so, as popular as ever, and so he should be. I would love to hear your thoughts on Will Ashcroft. Really have been back and forth with him this pre-season. It's been a tough one. It's all in the price for me with Ashcroft, because if you pick a guy at 441, you'd better get it right. Because he's not cheap enough to be a guy that averages 94 and makes us money. Yeah, great, he made us 75k. Not worth a selection. So he's not a keeper and he's not a money maker if he averages 95. What we need at this price is him to go next level and up his average by more than 20 points, which is a big ask. I will highlight that when he did get going last year after a bit of a sluggish start, finals included, I think it was his last 7 or 8 weeks, averaged 107. And I love a guy who turns it on in finals, and we know that he did that. I just can't look past the class of Ashcroft. He moves so well for someone who's so inexperienced. He just looks like he's ready for the level in his debut year, let alone now. He's arrived as a footballer because he's a Norm Smith medalist, but we still have him underpriced in my opinion. And I just think he's a creative kick. He's just, his IQ, footy IQ is off the charts. links up beautifully with 1-2 handballs. And I just can't help but feel that he is a guy that we'll talk about in a similar vein to what Dacos and Sheasel did. And he's just like that next-gen crop of our best mids. And I think he's going to take it next level. So all I need to see is a full pre-season from him. And so far, so good. Look, I think Peatling picks himself. So does Sammy Lawler, Ed Allen, Hewitt, Erasmus. All those guys. Some may end up playing, some may not. But we're not going to go too deep into the rookies because, clearly the practice games will decide a lot of that. Luke Parker, I was not on board. I felt like he was more of that mentor, leadership, guidance role, help pave the way for the new crop of young North Melbourne mids and, show them the way, help out every now and then as centre bounce, but largely play forward, push up. But I think with Wardlaw going down, there's a genuine opportunity for someone with a bit of extra grunt to go into that midfield. And Parker's clearly the guy. And all the match sim notes suggest that. He is having high centre bounce attendance. Yes, he is going to spend some time forward, but at that price, I am going to really find it hard to say no. I mean, just like with Peatling, if we get that role confirmed where he's a high centre bounce player in that top 4 mids, maybe even the 5th, sometimes you can still get some good centre bounce time as a 5th in line mid. Going to be pretty hard to say no. So, obviously available as a forward, but yeah, he's in my mid, and you'll see why when you see the crazy stacked forward line. But let's take a look at the rucks, and TDK picks himself at this point in time. Very popular selection. Clearly not having Cherry could destroy me, but look, I don't know. I'm happy to not start him. Well, happy's a stretch. I'm okay with not starting him. I do feel like it's a very, very expensive price. Look, I guess all Max Gorns start somewhere, We don't know if he's going to be Max Gorn and produce year upon year upon year of fantastic averages. But I suppose we could have said that about Max Gorn at the start, and then he just produces this amazing career. Cherry, it does look like he's going to average 115 plus for many years, and I would place him at 115 plus. But I'm happy to not go with him as a bloke who's only averaged this amount once, and I think DeConning offers value because he wasn't number 1 ruck consistently last year. And if Flynn can get named as their main man in the ruck, I think he's a bargain. I've got a lot of doubts about that. That's probably the most up for grabs position for mine, and it's a pity because if he can't grab that number 1 ruck role, and right now it does seem like him versus Bailey Williams is very much 50-50. So watch this space. If he can get up, fantastic. I think he's worth the punt. He's averaged high 80s before. He's cheap. If it doesn't get up, I'm really going to have to throw a lot around because I'm going to have to move him up to either someone like Cherry or maybe even Luke Jackson if he does, which you would imagine takes a significant amount of ruck time with Sean Darcy missing a bit. But even that's not perfect because we don't know the extent of Darcy's absence. But the rucks, not as much to discuss there. Watch this space on Flynn. DeConning looks a lock. So we'll round it out with the forwards, and there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on. We got Jagger Smith in the flex. I'll briefly touch on that, but pretty self-explanatory with Jagger. Horn Francis and Rankin, I see them nudging the 110. I don't think this is a case of, they're midfielders in the forward line, just pick them and they only average 100, but it'll do. I think these guys, particularly... Look, honestly, I'd half think about them if they were just mids. Before the season, or before this was released, I was talking about Horn Francis as a starter, going to 110 before he got the forward eligibility. So all the talk is that both these guys are playing predominantly mid. They're also very dangerous forward. I know when we hear like Will Day or someone else, they're resting forward, our heart sinks. But these guys will spend some time forward, and they won't just go cold there. They can do damage there, particularly Rankin. But they ain't going to be spending much time there. These are guys that change the game for their sides, and they're different to their existing mids. So both Port and Adelaide need them in the guts, and I can see them being the number 1 and 2 options for our forward line. And I don't think you'll see him below 550 for much this season, so I'm happy to grab him at the price. Look, McRae, Smith, Daniel, picks themselves, been in our sides and my side for a long time. Sanders, again, he's a watch, but you can't say no when Treloar goes down and then he has 30 and kicks 3 in an intra. I mean, you just can't say no. You've got to plug him in there. A bit like Ashcroft, I just think he's a guy that was touted as a superstar and he's got all the tools, all the skills. Wouldn't surprise me if he averages high 80s. Geez, he could average in the 90s if he gets that role predominantly in the mid. I don't want to go too crazy, but I really do like Sanders. The one guy I do want to talk a bit about, and that's Ryan Marich on the bench there. Now, look, having a guy over 200k on the bench, yeah, I don't like it, but I couldn't find anywhere else to put him. I mean, I just wanted to have him in here to talk about him, really. I think if you go back and watch some of his junior days before he was recruited to AFL level, he would actually spend a bit of time centre-half back, taking kickouts and being a bit of a distributor. Quite a nice-looking kick. Doesn't mind taking a bit of a kick through the middle. That's the role he now finds himself at the Eagles. Tom Barrass goes. He did debut last year as a forward, but now he is training down back, even taking some kickouts. And while I don't expect him to just, dominate with some crazy freewheeling half-back role, I think an average in the 80s, if the role lands, is not out of the question. Like high 70s, early 80s, I don't think it's crazy if he gets the right role because he really is a nice height, good set of hands, and he is a pretty nice kick. So one that maybe not too many are thinking about or looking at, but I think worth selecting. And Smith, look, the way I'm approaching the flex is quite simply, it's just the next best in line, 23rd player. And the way I'm looking for it's, what do we need at the start of the year? We need cash. So I'm going to use that extra position we now have to get another cash cow. So, look, Smith would have been on the field at M8 or M7, however you want to cut it. But just because I have batted fairly deep with some mid prices, he just ends up there. But whether you put him M8 or flex, doesn't really matter. But so, yeah, that is the way we are looking. And we'll float out a bit here. That's the side. Happy to cop some feedback. It's far from perfect. It's hopefully a bit different to most. I mean, we'll all have relatively similar players. It's just the nature of the beast. But I'm hoping mine is slightly more unique than some. And yeah, we'll see how we go. But I can't wait to watch some practice games and get some actual evidence behind some of the stuff that we've been talking about and wanting to see, and we'll finally find out. So, yeah, look forward to chatting to you soon. Hopefully see you on the live. And yeah, I'll talk to you later. Cheers.